The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. You're listening to the Building a Business Show for anyone starting a new business or turning around an underperforming company. It's your resource for building a successful business, one process at a time. Sandy Fagan, the host of Building a Business Show, an award-winning air personality, is also a licensed real estate consultant in Florida and New York, and is founder of Music for Any Occasion, a branding company that allows businesses to put their name and logo on M4AO music. Now, here's the host of Building a Business Show, Sandy Fagan.
And good afternoon, and welcome to Building a Business Show, where business owners and entrepreneurs find the resources that they need to build a successful business. I'm Sandy Fagan. Today's program is sponsored by RBC Bank, Social Guerrilla Media, Top Dog Performance, Lorena Anderson, The Energy Shifter, and Flying Chimp Media. For those tuning in for the first time, this is our 11th Building a Business Show here on Money Talk Radio, WSBR. And if you missed any shows, you can go to our website and download any archive broadcast at buildingabusinessshow.com. Our guest today is Tony Beal, also known as Mr. Nonprofit, and we're going to talk about ways he helps not-for-profit organizations become successful with marketing, fundraising, and maximizing resources. Building a Business Show was created for anyone who wants to take their business to the next level. It's designed to provide proven traditional marketing tools and strategies wed to modern technologies with forecasts about emerging trends. Every Thursday after the noon news, Building a Business Show features an in-depth interview with a business professional who provides insights and suggestions about the things we need to know in order to become successful in business. In coming weeks, we'll be doing shows about building a brand, networking effectively. We'll learn how to improve our negotiating skills, advertise with a limited budget, get free publicity, and much more. If you want more information about upcoming shows, about me, or if you'd like to find out how you can become a sponsor and a guest, please go to our website, buildingabusinessshow.com. Our guest today, Mr. Tony Beal, also known as Mr. Nonprofit. Tony, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
How did you get the name Mr. Nonprofit?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how I got that name. Actually, Mr. Nonprofit is the nickname that was given to me from a lot of my peers in the community. So it really came from the work that I was doing through the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce and our creation of a nonprofit resource center there. So I found myself meeting a lot of other folks that were working for nonprofits as I was at the time.
And you were dubbed Mr. Nonprofit, okay?
Yes, I was dubbed Mr. Nonprofit.
And when did you start working with not-for-profit organizations?
I've been working with nonprofits professionally for the last 13 years. I would say overall, if you include my volunteerism with nonprofits, pretty much my entire life.
And you worked for American Express at one time. What were the things that you worked on when you were at American Express?
Yeah, during my for-profit career at American Express, I spent most of that time in the travel-related services division of American Express, and really had the privilege and opportunity to travel around the country quite a bit and work in various locations. I oversaw call centers. Mostly for business travel with American Express, and really was through that employment at American Express. I was there about 13 years at American Express, and really through that experience working for Amex did I get so involved with nonprofits through volunteerism. It's such a core value of that company.
So Amex promotes not-for-profits?
Oh, yeah. Amex is a huge supporter of nonprofit organizations, at least, during my tenure, and certainly what I've seen through their support of even a lot of our local charities here in South Florida. Absolutely.
How important is it for a not-for-profit organization to be successful in fulfilling its mission?
Well, I think mission fulfillment is absolutely critical for a nonprofit. It is their primary reason for existence. It's interesting because what we're finding in the nonprofit industry is that a lot of donors, where historically the first question a donor may ask is, how are you managing your money? Now donors are asking, how are you managing your money? But in addition to that, how well are you meeting your mission? And really taking a look at nonprofits that they're supporting, not so much in terms of, are they spending less than 30 cents on the dollar to deliver their programs and services, but are their programs and services really affecting the type of change that those organizations were created to affect?
And exactly what is it that you do for not-for-profit organizations?
Oh, I do everything. Anything and everything. But no, truly, it's really just a real comprehensive menu of services, because I've had the fortunate opportunities to work for a lot of nonprofits at varying levels and varying sizes. I worked for nonprofits where I was the sole employee.
Wow.
I was the executive director and there was nobody else, to working for chapters of national organizations and working at the headquarters of a national nonprofit. So because of that, I'm capable of offering a lot of different services. But what I really focus on and where my strengths and where I can really make a difference for organizations is through board development initiatives, strategic planning, and diversification of funding initiatives. Uh-huh. So really anything that can help the organization with infrastructure and sustainability are really kind of the core areas that I focus on and where I know I can make a difference.
And how does Mr. Nonprofit assist organizations in maximizing their resources?
Well, it's really, nonprofits are not that different from for-profits when it comes to the day-to-day management of operations. And what I'm getting at with that kind of statement is that, like many leaders of nonprofits sometimes are just so entrenched in the day-to-day that they can't see beyond the next task that has to be completed. So what I can do is go into organizations and really spend time talking to board members and staff and key stakeholders and really helping to identify and uncover opportunities that the current leadership may not have recognized, not because they don't have the skills and capabilities to do so, but just because they don't have the bandwidth and the human resources to help them have the time to really be more strategic in their thinking.
Although much of what you do is considered consulting from a traditional sense, your approach to services you provide is a little bit non-traditional, isn't that right?
Yeah, well, anybody that knows me or that has worked with me knows that I'm really not a big fan of the word consultant.
Okay.
Only because, I think historically it resonates in not such a positive way in that, the perception, and I had this perception as well when I served as the CEO or executive director of nonprofits, that a consultant would come in and analyze and give me all of this great data wrapped up very nicely and put it on my table and say, here you go. And again, a lot of CEOs and EDs have the knowledge to get the work done. They're just they're lacking the resources to get those initiatives off the ground. So when we talk about what I'm doing and how what I'm doing might be a little different is I'll go in and I'll do those assessments and I'll create the data that they're looking for, but then I'll help create and implement the plans that support and move that data forward. And I think that that's what makes the difference in how kind of what I'm doing is non-traditional from a consulting perspective.
How would you describe what it is you do?
I always have to come up with funny new ways of saying things because again, I'm one of those folks that likes to push the envelope or challenge the status quo. I like to say I'm a connector of dots or a purveyor of possibilities are the words that I use. But again, it's really just getting in there, working with the nonprofits, working with the staff, the volunteers, the board, because the board of directors are so critical, and just helping them identify those possibilities that really have always been there, but maybe they haven't realized the true potential or the best way to maximize the opportunities that are there.
And what do you mean by connector of dots? Connector
of dots. Well, truly, it's it's sitting down and talking about, who are the stakeholders, what do they do, what does their network look like, their sphere of influence, and truly creating that matrix, that web of opportunity through those conversations and recognizing commonalities amongst donors and where there might be some common areas or common passions to excel their commitment to the organization or excel their communication and the way that they serve as ambassadors for that organization out in the community.
And what do you mean by purveyor of possibilities?
Well, it's, purveyor of possibilities really that comes from just my overwhelming optimism and helping organizations to realize that they're doing great work and to celebrate the great work and that there's tremendous potential.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more Building a Business Show with our guest Tony Bill right after these messages.
Honey, are you okay? What's wrong?
I was just thinking about how many memories we've had in this kitchen.
I know.
I used this oven to make Tommy's first birthday cake.
I remember.
And just think of all the finger paintings and paper plate turkeys we hung on this fridge.
Well, honey, I can call the remodelers and tell them not to come if you want.
Are you crazy? Give me that hand cart. Lean the fridge my way and let's get this thing out of here. Come on, honey, let's go.
Your home means a lot to you, but it can mean even more when you talk to RBC Bank about a home equity line of credit. Call 1-877-RBC-BANK or visit rbcbank.com to find a banking center near you.
Hey, look, there's where Sarah wrote, "I love Mommy and Daddy" on the wall in crayon. I wonder if there's any way we can save...
Out of the way, honey.
Or we could just paint right over it like that.
RBC Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Loans subject to credit approval.
You need a chimp to build your next website? The expert primates at Flying Chimp Media use their opposable thumbs to create some of the most amazing websites on the internet. First, they learn about your business, your clients, and prospective clients. Then they tailor a web solution designed to maximize your profitability online. They understand that a website first needs to generate traffic, so they help with search engine optimization. Then they work to convert the traffic into qualified leads or sales. These two factors are what make a website most effective. From award-winning design to custom, full-scale web applications, Flying Chimp is the solution to all your online marketing needs. Visit flyingchimp.com or call 954-634-CHIMP. That's 954-634-2446. Great websites don't grow on trees. They come from flying chimps. And welcome back to Building a Business Show. I'm Sandy Fagan, and with me is Mr. Nonprofit, who I've mispronounced his name twice. It's actually Tony Bell, even though it's spelled B-E-A-L-L. That's why I called him Beal. I called him Bill. Please forgive me, Tony.
No problem. The A's there just for confusion.
Yeah, okay. Well, we don't want to be too confused. We don't want to confuse the listeners. Tony Bell, thank you very much. Could you tell our listeners about some of the unique solutions that you've helped to implement with your clients?
Sure. Some of the things that I've been able to do, especially when we talk about board development and board recruitment, is to work with nonprofits in identifying where there may be gaps in their board in terms of the types of industries that are represented. Of course, there needs to be diversity on their boards. With some organizations, it's important that there be gender parity on their boards. So really through meeting with the board and the leadership of the nonprofit and going through a quick exercise. And then, I'm a big fan and have implemented for a number of my clients what I call board recruitment events. And really we go through that process of identifying who are the right folks and creating those events and inviting them in and really furthering their education on the cause and asking them to step up to the plate and, accept that level of accountability and serve on the board of directors. Ideally what you want is, to find candidates for your board that have a history with the organization. You want to create some type of leadership track so that you're not really just soliciting folks because you have to meet some type of quorum or what your bylaws dictate should be your number of board members. But I've been really successful in that and have seen some great results for some of my clients through those types of board recruitment initiatives.
I know that you're committed to effecting positive change for nonprofit organizations, and doesn't that start with the board?
It really does. I mean, it's my opinion that a nonprofit cannot succeed without a vibrant, active, committed board of directors. I mean, they really have to, it's that foundation from which everything else is built upon with a nonprofit. So your board members are just a huge and critical part of the success of the organization.
Don't the board members have to possess certain qualities beyond just a passion for the cause?
Yeah, I mean, passion without appropriate action is truly that, just passion. And we don't want to deny or suppress how important passion for an organization is. But passion alone isn't going to pay the bills, and passion alone isn't going to make sure that the folks that you're meant to serve or whatever part of the community you're meant to serve, that doesn't mean that those services are going to be provided. So board members, although a lot of them end up on a board because of their tremendous passion for an organization, they need to be provided, like everyone does in any business situation, they need to be provided with the right tools and education to be effective for the organization. So I really stress upon my clients to make sure that there's continuing education for board members, not to just look at staff and what type of continuing education does staff need, but what type of continuing education or beginning education do board members need in order to be as effective as possible? To the extent that some of the nonprofits that I work with, we've incorporated continuing education at the board level as part of their bylaws, so
really?
that it's there and it's known and it's expected.
What qualities do you look for in individuals before recommending them to the board?
Again, the best prospects for a board are going to be those individuals that have some history with the organization. So either they've started by serving on a task force or a committee, through some type of volunteer activity, or they're a donor to the organization. They've really reached in their pockets and opened up their checkbook and shown their commitment to the cause through their monetary contributions. So those are really the first level, so to speak, of individuals that you look for to be appropriate and effective board members. And then you drill down to look again at, making sure that your board is representative of, the major industries in your community.
And how important is it for a board to be diversified?
Well, I think it's very important for a board to be diversified. That if for no other reason, to understand the appropriate messaging that needs to occur in different communities. Certain communities receive messaging differently, and what I mean by that is, some communities, the best way to find out what's going on is at the barbershop. There are other communities where, just being at a chamber meeting is going to get the word out. But really, you have to have that diversification in order to get the word out about your organization and to be able to tap into different areas in the community for support and funding.
How do you recruit new board members?
Again, I would kind of go back to you recruit them through creating my recommendation is through some type of board recruitment initiative or event. You've identified them because you've taken the time to take a look at these folks that are consistently supporting your organization, and then you invite them to a nice little 2-hour get together, and letting them know ahead of time that they're being invited. They're a select group of individuals because of their past commitment to the organization, and you're looking to build the board and are hoping that they'll take on that additional level of accountability.
I know you've mentioned training the board members. Mm-hmm. Could you describe some of the other work that you do with organizations, boards?
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate over the last year to work very closely with the Community Foundation of Broward through their Boards in Action initiative, and really a lot of what I do is along that same model. It's spending time with board. It's putting them in a comfortable and creative environment for 8 hours and really doing a strategic plan and walking out of there with a real working document where board members own pieces of the organization through that strategic planning process. So that's just one other example of what I do when it comes is directed specifically for board members.
Why is it so important that a not-for-profit organization have a succession plan?
Well, succession planning is critical not only for staffing, but again, as we talk about board members, anything can happen. I always say life happens, and board members rotate off boards, not because they lose their passion for an organization, but careers change, families change, people move, and if you don't have succession plans in place, then you're left with gaps in your leadership, and it can totally prevent the organization from moving forward. If the board has a meeting and there aren't enough board members to have a quorum, they can't vote on anything. So again, at the board level, it's important to have succession planning, and the same thing at the staff level. Executive directors, they come and go. Again, nonprofits are a lot like for-profit businesses. There are opportunities for leadership, and a lot of times leadership appropriately takes advantage of those other opportunities. So you want to be able to have had some type of succession plan. So at a minimum, that with your existing staff, if you have the luxury of having quite a bit of staff, that there's someone either at the staff level or on the board level that can step in and keep the engine running.
Just as an organization needs a succession plan, it also needs a fundraising plan, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Organizations have to have a fundraising plan, and to take that a step further, it has to be a fund diversification plan. Organizations need to, again, kind of cast a wide net in terms of funding. Organizations can no longer just rely on single sources, for example, and just grants to get the job done. So they really need to have a diverse pool of sources that are bringing funding into the organization, and hopefully a large percentage of that being unrestricted funds, so that the organization has the flexibility to really invest those funds as they see appropriate to fulfill their mission.
You've helped raise millions of dollars for various organizations. What's your secret?
I'm going to say there is no secret. But what I would say has helped me in my success over the years, it really has been just my level of passion for organizations and for what they do for our community. So that's part of it. The other part of it, goes back again to my days at American Express, and that is just customer service. Uh-huh. Providing good customer service to your stakeholders, to your donors, to your volunteers. That just goes a long way. I'm still a big fan of, as horrible as my handwriting is, I'm still a big fan of sending the handwritten note.
A thank you note.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is fund diversification so important?
Because, old phrases, but you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You can't, in my opinion, let one entity kind of hold all of the cards for your existence or sustainability. You have to diversify your funding.
We're going to talk more about funding and other things with our guest, Tony Bell.